It's time to go back to the future. You know, one thing about covering the future that's a huge challenge is that we're constantly creeping toward it. The possibilities of tomorrow with enough time become the realities of yesterday, and sometimes when we put up a video, within a few months or weeks or sometimes days, we need to update it. So that's what this episode's all about. Think of it as a end of the year grab bag. And I want to start off with talking about superpowers. Remember that episode? Well, now we've got a new one to add to the list. Thanks to Frank Swain, a writer with New Scientist. He hacked his hearing aid, so now he hears something that you and I can't hear. Wi-Fi signals. He can actually hear them. He can tell the density of Wi-Fi coverage by walking through an area and listening to his hearing aid. Now granted, you could kind of do this with any radio-like device, but I still think this is an amazing hack. Mr. Swain would be a really handy guy to have around whenever you travel overseas. And let's stick with superheroes for a moment. Literally. You know, we did an episode about how nature can inspire engineers and scientists when they're in research and development mode. And in that episode, I talked about one of my favorite critters of all time, the gecko. Now, geckos have tiny hairs on their feet that allow them to stick to sheer surfaces using something called the van der Waals force. And in that episode, I talked about how engineers are using the van der Waals force to develop dry adhesives. But now they're going a step further. Two different groups of geniuses have come up with a way to let people scale sheer surfaces using the van der Waals force, just like a gecko. Now, the first group came up with a way to allow a 218-pound climber carrying 50 pounds of extra weight to scale a sheer surface for 25 feet. Then in November, the BBC reported that researchers from Stanford University had developed a system that allowed a 150-pound or 70-kilogram climber to climb 12 feet of sheer surface, that's about 3.6 meters, using climbing pads that also rely on the van der Waals force. It's pretty awesome. Anybody call for a web slinger? Now our final stop on this trip down future memory lane is underwater cities. Now, in our episode on underwater habitats, we talked about a lot of proposals that were in various stages of development. You might even say a few of them were, dead in the water. Well, now we've got a new one we can add to the list thanks to a Japanese architecture firm called Shinzu Corp. They have this idea for a 5,000 resident underwater town, and it's pretty incredible. They're thinking about a sphere that would be just under the surface of the ocean, and that's where all the residential homes would be. And they propose using microorganisms to convert carbon dioxide into methane to provide fuel to power the whole thing. So, will it ever be built? I hope so. But even if it isn't, the things we learn while we try to achieve this goal will be really helpful for stuff like resource management. These are the sort of things we need so that we can meet the challenges to make that awesome future become a reality. Think of all the disciplines that are constantly evolving. Nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, robotics, autonomous vehicles, medicine. The list is nearly endless, and human creativity is boundless. And the best thing about predicting the future is all the stuff you couldn't possibly have anticipated. It's what keeps me excited about my job. Now, I've got a question for you guys. Which episode do you think we need to update next? Do you think autonomous cars deserves an update? Are you a space junkie and you just can't get enough? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe to our channel, and then check out the episodes I mentioned earlier right over here.